Hey yo, and welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. Great to have a fully loaded squad this evening. And our sister, Karen Guregian, self-proclaimed sister on what we were just saying, the third ever episode of the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. Karen joins us once again. We're going to talk Masters and Patriots with Karen. Everybody, how's it going tonight? Good to see a beautiful day out there today.
Hey,
Finally
good
feels like
evening,
spring.
everybody. I can't believe I'm saying good evening and it's that beautiful out.
I
Yeah,
know
don't jinx it.
we may
I
have
I
to.
know, I know, I know.
I took all the scrapers and wipers things out of my trunk today, and I'm going, am I gonna jinx this? I mean, it did only snow a
Oh,
couple of
that's
days
legit.
ago,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I hope
yeah.
if we're out of scraper season, that's great. We were saying before you jumped on, it's allergy season though, so you gotta load up on all the allergy meds now. But let's load up into the sports calendar of what was an absolutely unbelievable week all over the map. But we have to start here, and this is Masters Sunday for the ages, to be quite honest, where Rory McIlroy somehow, some way chokes, unchokes, and somehow completes the career Grand Slam. The floor is open here, fellas. So much that we can dive into. Karen, you said that you tuned in, so why don't you lead us off with just your, excuse me, thoughts from yesterday and the tournament on a whole, and then we'll do a little round robin and get everyone's takes.
Just a FYI, I've had the pleasure and privilege of covering several masters in my time.
Wow,
Excellent.
that's an honor.
It was like during Tiger's prime, so that was pretty darn.
So you went down there? You went down to
Oh
Augusta?
yeah, oh yeah.
Wow, that's
I
incredible.
walked on the hallowed grounds.
Did you have a
Ate the egg
pimento
salad
cheese?
sandwich.
And don't tell anyone I stole a pine cone.
Whoa.
That's a cool memento.
That is a pretty cool memento.
I mean, I wanted to like chop one of the azaleas, but I figured I might really be put in jail,
They would literally jail you probably for that.
and
It's
it might be
crazy.
a life sentence.
If anyone from the
They
Masters
have
is
their
listening,
own
she
court
didn't do
system.
it.
Well, I'll tell you one time I almost did get thrown in jail there. And this is a weird segue to talking about Rory McIlroy, but the day before they have the par three contest, and that year, Drew Bledsoe, for whatever reason, was caddying for one of the golfers, and that golfer happened to win the par three contest. And it's like I didn't know it for like all of a sudden, like they give you a list, and on the release, and it says this guy won the par three, and on his bag was, and I saw that, I go, oh. So, and this was, I'm pretty sure when Drew was with Buffalo, but still, that I thought that might be a good kind of off the beaten path story. So I went to I went to the interview room to try and talk to the guy who won, and thinking Drew might be there, but he wasn't. So I asked someone. They said, "Oh, he just left. He's headed toward the parking lot." So I go dashing out of the interview room and start running toward the parking lot, thinking, well, if I walk, I'm not going to get him. So I start to run. And then I was corralled by at least two of their.
No running at Augusta.
That's right. And I was stopped, and it was almost like I literally thought I was going to be thrown in jail for running. No, miss, we walk here. No running. Okay, thank you for the warning and the heads up. And then I proceeded to power walk to the parking lot, and I did get Drew Bledsoe.
Hell yeah.
Perseverance.
She made
Love
it. She
And
put
I
it
told
into
him,
high
like,
gear.
you might have had to bail me out of jail, but you learn fast. Do not bring a cell phone anywhere near the course. Do not run. And if you have to sneeze, you better like do it as silently as possible, or else again they will evict you. So, um, fast forwarding to yesterday, I think I said this. I said this on another show, but I think it was kind of a pretty good way of saying what I thought happened to Rory McIlroy. It was like he was having a self-exorcism where the good Rory was fighting with the bad Rory, or the choking the choking Rory, And the good guy would make this great shot. Oh, but here comes the choking Rory. And then we'd see another great shot, and then we'd see the choking Rory. But ultimately, in the end, the good Rory finally exorcised that demon.
It was quite a show, quite a show. Fellas, chime in.
Yeah, no, it was one for the ages. It was historic. Rory got the career Grand Slam, and I thought personally, I thought it was a great 4 days for him. He didn't have his best stuff, obviously, on the first day, and yesterday was a little shaky, but he had a lot of perseverance to battle through it, and to get the monkey off his back. It was great to see all the emotion that poured out at the end. I personally was a fan. I know some people might have thought it was a little too much, but I thought it was candid and real. So. Good for him. For Rory. Great for the game of golf. It was a perfect weekend. The weather was great.
Mm.
It was honestly, you can't ask for much more. So I'm really happy for the guy.
This is why we watch sports. We watch sports because it is the best reality TV that's out
Mm.
there. I mean, I don't know if you could have asked for a better finish. Let's end in a tie and go to a playoff to win. And just both guys were great on that hole, but Rory was just a little bit better. So it was one for the ages and probably something you want to remind me of. Do you guys remember the U.S. Open in 2008? I remember this distinctly because it happened like during the NBA finals where the Celtics and Lakers were playing, and Tiger Woods was in the playoffs, and I think that went on for a few holes, but it reminded me of that a little bit eerily as I was watching that yesterday. So a little bit of a throwback, but I can't remember if there's been another playoff at a major besides that one in recent memory.
For
Well,
Bernie
I
tonight. We need
remember
Bernie.
Yeah, we need our producer.
Stat man.
it was a great playoff with Tiger. I think it was a U.S. Open though, or something else, where Tiger was literally on one leg.
Oh yeah.
Remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah, and he somehow won that one. And I forget
His knee, I think.
No, was it Rocco Mediate? He was against somebody, but that one was like, is Tiger literally going to be able to, walk?
That was the one in '08 that I was talking about.
Oh, that one.
With him
That
with him
wasn't
against.
that wasn't the Masters?
No, that was the U.S. Open because that was
Oh,
in June.
I think
But
it
still,
It was Rocco. I pulled it up. I
Rocco,
think
see?
Chat GPT is something. Let me tell you.
It's the one
That-
sport
it's
where you
in
can
my
see
brain.
these guys like unraveling.
GPT.
It's so good. It's the best. Like to see like Rose just going for it, like having the round of his life on Sunday, and then Rory having up and down, and then the shot on 13 where he just put it in the water was absolutely ridiculous. Like that was an 86 yard chip. Honestly, like I maybe could make that, but if you put all those professional golfers, if you put like all of them that played that course that close, I don't think that any of them would 85 out of 100 would probably get it. It's just it was a bad look, but he battled back and good for him.
It was a human moment, like
Yes,
like us Joe average regular golfers do. Like we do that,
one of
not
us.
the world's best player, right?
And J-Matt, you said you highlighted a few bad shots, but those final two shots from Justin Rose and Rory
Mm.
in the playoff were unbelievable shots. I believe Justin Rose went first, made a great shot, and then Rory just follows up after him and puts a just it right on the
God.
hole, and it's like game over. That was a beautiful shot. You knew Rory had it at that moment. One thing for me is it's just sad not seeing the red polo out there, and Tiger Woods. We all grew up watching Tiger Woods, and I know he's older now, a lot of injuries, a lot of setbacks, but it's still magical when you get to see him out on the greens, and that's one thing I sorely miss this year.
Hmm.
Undoubtedly missed Tiger out there, but kudos to Rory. I mean, he brought it home despite, as Karen said, sort of exercising the demons throughout the entire round.
Like from hole to hole.
Yeah, but like when you think about watching golf, and I'd say like we're fans of golf, but we're on the casual side more than the hardcore side for sure. And I think like when you tune into a major, that's exactly what you're looking for. Like it wasn't the best round. People didn't play well, per se, but like the back and forth and the movement along the scorecard. I mean, you look at some of the things that happened. Justin Rose sinking that birdie on 18 just to get to under 11, and then Patrick Reed was in the mix in 3 putts on 13. And he otherwise is
He
in the
hold it.
mix.
He hold it on like 15 too. It's crazy.
It was
Well,
he like bounced it in.
it's so compelling, especially for Rory, because in 1 minute you're seeing him kind of do the impossible when he's like flying the ball over trees with like no distance to get the ball up, and yet, as I think it was Ben Crenshaw on one of the shows afterward was saying, 99% or maybe 99.5% of the golfers in the world or on the tour would have tried to just a kind of a line drive just to
Right.
get it through get it through, advance it through the trees. What does Rory do? He does like the lowest possible percentage shot in that, and that's to like sky it over and through. I think one of them was like 150 yards or whatever the heck it was. And he did it twice.
Yeah, the shot
And,
on 15 that hooked like a Nike swoosh.
right. So there you're entertained by somebody doing what you think the greats should do, right? The impossible. And then he goes from that. So he lands at 6 feet and then he misses the putt. So he was morphing back into like Joe average golfer to this like superstar who was doing things that nobody else could do. And that was kind of the entertainment,
And
really.
you can see it on his face too. Like
Oh
he doesn't
man.
have no poker face, which is the
His
best part.
not the yeah, he could use a body language coach. They got a lot of coaches in golf.
Even when he hit one of those through the trees or up and over, and it might have hit a branch but still landed, even he got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Saying he had like no business either attempting that shot and or making that shot, and yet he did, and it's like, oh well.
Unbelievable day of golf. DeChambeau really didn't push Rory at all. He kind of fell off and had a pretty poor round himself. But Justin Rose, credit to him for pushing Rory there. Unfortunately, loses his second major in a playoff. He lost to Sergio Garcia in 2017 in a playoff. So tough for Justin Rose. But the class that he had at the end was amazing. Scotty Scheffler still at under 8 under, like very quietly in a top 5 finish. He wanted out of Butler cabin immediately though. He put that jacket on Rory and was like, "Get me out of here, please." Biggie, you wanted to chime in real quick?
Yeah, I think that was my biggest disappointment of the weekend is I was really pulling for Scotty Scheffler. I think we all agree that Rory is an amazing player, but I don't know if anyone is better right now than Scotty Scheffler. The year that he had last year was absolutely amazing. So I was kind of hoping for him to push a little bit, and it just didn't happen. But you can never count Scotty Scheffler out.
Definitely can't. Great for golf right now. There's, a really great sort of top 10 that are household names from a golf standpoint right now. So I think that's a very good thing. Hopefully you see sort of a rivalry between DeChambeau and Rory, or Scotty, Rory, and not DeChambeau, Scheffler, sorry, to sort of come to the forefront here throughout the rest of the year. But we got a lot of other things we want to get into with Karen. And there's something that's on the horizon that she is an absolute expert in. And I listened back to our third episode with Karen, and we were coming off of the first preseason game where barely anybody played, and we had no idea what the Patriots were going to look like. And now we fast forward here to April 14th as we record, and it's a completely different situation. In fact, a completely different team. And J-Matt has done a phenomenal job of getting us prepared for this segment. So I'm going to hand it over to J-Matt to kick it off on all things Patriots with Karen here, extended draft preview and state of the Patriots as we see it now. J-Matt, take it away.
Yeah, Karen, thank you for being on, of course. We really appreciate you taking the time tonight and being with us here. So we can all agree that, last year was not the best year for the Patriots. I think the biggest thing that you said to us was that you want to see progression. You want to see a team that's moving forward, that's building towards something, and they certainly did not do that. So the best part about football is you have another swing at it next year, and we are close to that next year. Well, it's already been next year about for 2 months now, but the real part of next year starts with the draft and also with free agency, which we'll dive into. But before all that, the first thing I want to touch on, Karen, is the head coaching situation. So, of course, Gerard Mayo, he's out, and Mike Vrabel is in. What's your take on that situation, on the scenario of Gerard Mayo and how that went down, and the signing of Vrabel?
Well, I think ultimately what we saw was a couple of things. One, Gerard Mayo just wasn't ready to be a head coach. He made a ton of mistakes. He repeated mistakes. And even that surprised me because I really saw him as being a really, kind of smart, cerebral guy who kind of got it, right? But as the season wore on, again, he just kept making the same mistakes. His in-game decisions were questionable. His in-game handling of players who were fumbling left and right was a little questionable. And again, it was hard to get a total read on the situation because, mostly coaches usually have their staff, guys that they pick on their coaching staff. But a lot of these, because he didn't have he hadn't been around long enough to basically have a list of guys that he could call to fill roles in spots. My understanding is Elliot Wolf pretty much hired the entire offensive staff.
Wow.
And because Elliot had connections, he had been to several different teams. He knew more people around the league than Gerard Mayo, who was like a 4-year, 5-year assistant in one place. So, and Gerard chose to rely on he did what he knew best and relied on others to do what they did best. And when you're a head coach, you really need to be the guy. If you think that they should go on fourth down, it should be your decision and not the offensive coordinator, right? Stuff like that, or different decisions that were kind of made in game. Bottom line, he wasn't ready. He had a very inexperienced, I mean, they entered, if you looked at the big picture beforehand, they have a first-time GM, a first-time head coach, a first-time offensive play caller, a first-time defensive coordinator, all trying to get not arguably, the worst roster in the NFL to win games. And again, if you look at it like that and put in that kind of perspective, 4-13 shouldn't be a surprise. It was a surprise because in the past we saw, I think, kind of spoiled by the Patriots doing more with less. And they didn't have to have the best roster. They had Belichick and they had Brady. And those two made up for any deficiency, or largely made up for any deficiency. They were always well coached because of Belichick. And they had that X factor with Brady that he could get them over any hump and every hurdle. So you have Gerard Mayo in that situation, a first-year head coach, worst roster, coaches he doesn't know, coaches who are inexperienced. And what, was he supposed to pull off a miracle?
We were hoping for it.
They did
Right.
in week 1.
Yeah, he was a scapegoat.
Right. And that might have been the worst thing to happen because all of a sudden these expectations grew. But
Yeah.
what didn't happen, and what I talked about all those months ago, when Bill Parcells came his first year, when Bill Belichick came his first year, the first half of the season of those seasons, their first seasons were pretty tough. I mean, I think Bill Parcells went 1-10 before they won the last 4 games. And in those last 4 games, that's where things started clicking. And that's where people started to say, there might be something there. they looked so much better in those last 4 games, and they actually beat playoff teams in those final 4 games. And that they brought that momentum into the next season, and then they went 11-5. Same thing, Bill Belichick. I think he went like 5. He might have gone like 5-11 his first season, but most of the wins came in that bottom half. And then the next season, Drew gets injured, Brady's in there, and the next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl. But you did see progress. You didn't see them going backwards at any time during the season, whereas they win that first game and looked like they had a clue, and then it went downhill all the way from there. So,
and it's not like they didn't have chances, Karen, too. Like they were in a lot of games
all these
that
one-score games, they kept telling us.
well, but you want to know what
How about winning them?
they couldn't find a way to win any of them, and I think that was the most frustrating thing. Like whether you want to go back to, the game against the Titans, which, right now that's a real interesting game with the Titans having the number 1 overall pick and us losing that game and them winning, amongst others. But it was just an interesting year from that
Right.
regard.
And they didn't know how to win. And again, I would argue that whether it was Parcells or Belichick, it's like they were good for at least a win or two, that just because of their coaching or just because of their ability to coach or to know what to do in certain situations, or knowing how to get their players to play, Gerard didn't have that. He didn't have yes, the players liked him because, he was a much friendlier coach. Yes, they respected him as being a former player, but once they actually got into the games and started kind of seeing the decisions, not just by him, but by the coordinators and the other members of the staff, they started to lose faith and confidence. If they began going into games thinking they would lose, and of course they did. Whereas on Belichick coach teams, especially with Tom Brady, Bill Parcells coach teams, those players went into games, even though they might have been, you know, not the better team on paper. They went into those games expecting to win, or expecting to give that other team all that all that they had and more. You didn't have that with Gerard Mayo's team.
What
What
about
And I
about
wanted to
with
say,
what?
for me, it was like the one thing that I had noticed was it was, you go from the strict Belichick era that's taken place for 20 some odd years to Gerard Mayo, who's a former player. He's been an assistant for, like you said, 4 years. Now he's a head coach. It's almost like, the summer camp counselor that you had is now a substitute teacher, and you kind of have free range in the classroom.
Yeah.
That's at least the vibe that I got. I didn't think he was right from the get-go, personally, like we had spoken about. And I mean, unfortunately it played out the way that it did, but that's just the vibe that I got, was that these guys just kind of came and
Yeah.
went as they pleased.
I think the guys appreciated the change, but they also took advantage of having a more lenient coach, or a more player-friendly coach, or a coach who wasn't going to hold them to the fire or keep them on edge every single day. I think Gerard just kind of took it to an extreme, how far he wanted to distance himself uh, from Belichick's coaching tactics.
Karen, how about the new coach, Mike Vrabel? Is the team going to play for him? Do you feel like there's a renewed sense of energy, and you've been down there and have been front and center at the interview, shall we say? And it seems like you have
Only because I'm old.
a good
It's
relationship with
wisdom,
Mike.
Karen. It's
So,
wisdom. It's
Because
not
I'm old.
age.
I
You're not
covered
old. It's
Vrabel way
wisdom.
back when he was a player. So um, I think it's so funny. As I was saying, early in as things were going last year, there was that sense of renewal, because players, again, said they could breathe. They were, it was fun again. Whereas under the Belichick, Belichick liked to keep people on edge. He liked to make everyone believe that their job was on the line. you screw up and you're gone. And so, but I think Belichick was a believer is that he got better performances out of players who were always thinking they were trying to save their job. Whereas Mayo wanted to take that tension completely away. He just, again, completely, it was too extreme. I think Vrabel falls somewhere in the middle, but a little bit closer to the Belichick side in terms of, being a disciplinarian. Some of the things he does is straight out of the Belichick book. Like a couple of the players were saying last week that he likes to quiz them on things that he might have said 3 days ago. Like he'll put a player on the spot. Belichick did that all the time. He would go over some formation on a Monday, and then on a Thursday, he would call on a defensive guy and say, "Tell me exactly what I said Monday."
I
Or
like that.
what's the secret?
Preparedness.
Yeah.
And you talk to the players about it, and some of them didn't like it at all because they would be embarrassed if they didn't have the answer. But if they were embarrassed once, they weren't going to be embarrassed again. They were going to know, they were going to
Fair.
listen, they were going to, toe the line, so to speak. So Vrabel has that in him. And again, what the players were talking about are the exact same stories I would hear from players that Belichick coached. He would on the spot ask him a question about something he had just teach, maybe even 5 minutes ago, just to kind of keep them in tune. No one wants to be embarrassed, right? So you better know the answer. So
Yeah, yeah. And Karen, I'm sure you saw that video of Vrabel kind of talking to the team and no hoods, no phones in the weight room. He called out Barmore
Who do you
to
call?
answer
well,
a question.
He called out a Christian. We don't know what it could
Oh
have
yeah,
been.
Christian,
Gonzalez.
sorry.
Could have been,
It could
But
have been
it's just like,
Gonzalez.
We all assumed.
yeah, it was
Well, it's
Barmore.
true, but you have to be
Christian
fair.
Barmore
Could
was
have been
doing.
another Christian.
Very
But
true. I didn't realize that, but no, it is good to see kind of the Belichickian ways kind of entering back into the Patriots' place there, but also in a sense, like I want Vrabel to bring a fresher approach and also maybe relate more with some of the guys, and I think that he is doing that, and he will be able to do that.
He actually reminds me a bit of Parcells, who was, he was I don't know if I could say this word on it, but he was a hard ass,
you
right?
can say whatever
Oh,
you
you can
want.
totally
Oh
say that.
yeah.
He was a hard
Definitely.
ass, but in a fun way. And Vrabel's kind of the same way, you know. Um, there's a point to his kidding with you, or calling you out, but he's kind of laughing as he's doing it. And Belichick, I mean, I'm sorry, Parcells always had this smirk, when he was, you know, calling guys out for certain things or joking with them or making cracks. Terry Glenn was she, stuff like that. Um, Whereas when Belichick was doing it, he was like, there was no humor.
Vindictive.
He was like dead serious, meaning if you don't answer the question, you're on the highway, and
Down Route 1 you go.
or 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 if there's a blizzard and you're late to the meeting, I'm sending you home, right?
Randy Moss.
And
Vrabel and Parcells can have fun. Belichick was no fun.
I don't know. He looks to be having fun down at North Carolina.
Well,
We can
he's
talk
having
about
fun
that
now,
later.
but
oh yeah, but it's a different kind of fun. I don't think it's with the players.
Ah! So good.
You mean his granddaughter?
Good.
Karen, we wanted to transition a little bit to the free agency that the Patriots had. It was Vrabel's kind of first crack. I mean, I know it's obviously a whole team effort, but Vrabel's kind of first crack at this free agency class. Robert, I mean, the Crafts opened their wallets, spent a lot of money this in this free agency. Um, how do you think? Do you have any players that stood out to you that you're excited about this coming year? I certainly am excited to see Milton Williams be a terror on the line. Is there anybody that sticks out to you that's exciting that you're excited for the next year?
Well, I'm excited because I think Vrabel went into this with a definite plan, and he went into it with guys that he, in particular, he wanted, and not necessarily because they were the best, but because he knew they were fits for, particularly on the defense, fits for what he envisions the defense being, but also like cultural fits, as well. And I, I don't want to say I'm like super excited about the defense, but I do think the defense is going to be pretty darn good this year. And again, and it's not because they signed all these superstars. Obviously Milton Williams, yes. Carlton Davis, you know, having two above average to elite corners on the boundaries is a huge advantage when you're trying to run a defense. And the Patriots having two legitimate outside corners is huge for how Vrabel wants to attack and defend, or mostly attack the opposing team's quarterback in offense. I mean, the safeties don't have to shade. The safeties don't have to help. Those two guys on the outside can play man to man, Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez. The safeties can plug the middle of the field, or, they can blitz. So I think he went about it in a real deliberate way in terms of not only the pieces he wanted or the positions he wanted, but who he wanted. And he overpaid in plenty of cases. Carlton Davis.
Landry.
So, I thought they spent a ton of money, but I'm going to trust that Vrabel got these players for a reason because, again, he has a vision of how he wants a defense to play and the type of players he needs to make that happen. So I think on the defensive side, terrific.
Yeah, I mean, what you're alluding to is I'm hoping is what I'm thinking. My football knowledge is a lot of coverage sacks. I mean, the line's going to be able to get home with Milton Williams, healthy Christian Barmore, Keon White with the coverage on the back end. Like that's what we're hoping for is a full team defense, which is what we've been lacking over the past few years.
He's added speed at line. Robert Spillane is like a terrorist. I mean, he's a nut, but he's. Juwan Bentley was good, but again, in terms of coverage, in terms of his speed from side to side, the game's changed. You need linebackers who can move, whereas in the past, Belichick wanted big thumpers, Ted Johnson, because the line was gonna hold up their gaps, and then the linebackers were gonna come in and take out the running back. And you needed, or take on the blocks and then take down the running backs. You needed big, strong, tough linebackers. The game's changed. And you need linebackers who are tough, but are also can move laterally really well. Because again, everyone runs that outside zone scheme. And offenses or everything kind of is around the corner. Not many teams run straight ahead anymore. There's also, it's an RPO or the quarterback is rolling. You need speed in your defense to succeed in the league nowadays. You don't need these big, strong, tough, plodding linemen and linebackers. You need guys who can move.
Do you
These
think
coaches have coached for that?
Added some guys that can move on the offensive side of the ball for the Patriots? I think there's been some additions, obviously, in the wide receiver room, and they've looked to stabilize the offensive line as well.
Yeah, I like Morgan Moses. He's a veteran, and if you heard him speak in his introductory press conference, it's like he's definitely a leader of men. I mean, it's hard to ignore the wisdom that came out of his mouth on an introductory press conference. But I think, um, with Onwenu and Moses on the right side, I think they've taken care of the right side. Of course, there could be injury, but that side looks okay. It's the left side. And, you know, they didn't re-sign David Andrews, which was a bit of a head scratcher to me, but it kind of makes sense, given they would have to wait through training camp to kind of see if he was going to be okay or not, or. And when you're in free agency looking to sign a center as insurance in case David Andrews doesn't make it back, are the good guys going to come thinking they're going to be a backup? No.
No.
Mm-mm.
So they had to make a tough call, and they decided to release David when they did. And I kind of know that they had their sights set on another center, but he wound up going somewhere else. But they got a little bit lucky that Minnesota released their starting center. Um, not the best pass protector, but um, but at least he's competent and capable and a veteran and knows what he's doing. So now it's just kind of the left side you have to worry about, and we'll see what they do in the draft.
I think that's
So
a great
yeah,
segue.
I think
I was
Raz,
going to
go
say
ahead,
that
buddy.
transitions us
See, I did that
perfectly.
for you.
Yeah, you did it
Dave.
perfectly for us. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so with that being said, I know we all have our own ideas of who we want. I know there's like millions of mock drafts of, one that I just looked at had Cam Ward going first, and then Travis Hunter, and then Abdul Carter, and then I think Will Campbell to us. What's
That's,
the
that's the
is
most
there an
common
ins
one, anyway.
is it okay? Okay. Is there so like what's are there like scenarios within Foxborough right now? I'm sure there is, and what are they like as far as the
Well,
draft
I mean,
process?
I can come up with them myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think if my belief is they're talent starved, and they really need to approach it as they say they're going to approach it and take the best player available. Now, they might take Will Campbell and try and convince us he was the best player available at number 4, but I'm not going to buy that. Um, there are other potential people in that spot, and it might be defensive players, could be defensive players. But me, I'm going for talent. And the reason I'm going for talent there is because this draft is doesn't have a ton, you know, of it. So I would, if it's uh, the kid from Michigan, the defensive
Mason
line,
Graham.
Mason Graham.
if
Yeah,
he's
he's
the
he's a
guy,
beast.
if he's the guy that they think is going to be this havoc wreaker with quarterbacks, who's going to be a difference maker, hence the word difference maker with the defense, take him there. And then is there a law against him moving back into the first round to get a tackle?
Nope, not at all. And
Go for it.
I think that third round pick that they got from Atlanta, shipping Judon, is a perfect piece of ammo that they can use to move up.
Exactly. And their problem last year was, again, maybe the inexperience of Elliott Wolf. When there started to be a run on tackles, they froze. And then they took a right tackle and tried to convince us that he could play left tackle when it's like, okay, we didn't just fall off the turnip truck, you know? There are right tackles who can play left tackle, but it's not as easy as a snap of the fingers. Some guys can do it, some guys can't.
And
And
Karen, ooh,
yeah,
sorry, just real interesting thing that you brought up earlier about the coaching and the coaching that the team had last year. I personally don't want to write off any of the guys that were rookies last year because I really don't think that they got the coaching that they needed to be successful. Whether it's Jalen Polk, whether it's and I know Caden Wallace was injured for a good portion of the season, but I think that there was some talent there that was drafted that was not a they weren't able to achieve what I think they were capable of. So do I think that maybe some of these guys that they got last year could produce with actual coaching this year? Yeah, I do think it's possible. So I know everyone crapped all over Elliott Wolf's draft last year, and I'm not saying that I think it was an amazing draft either. but I also think that like we reserve the right to see what these guys are able to do with some coaching because maybe Caden Wallace is a player. Maybe Jalen Polk does have a bounce back year. Who knows? But just wanted to get your thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there was stuff that I don't remember his name right now, but it's probably good that I don't. But I don't think the players had a lot of confidence with the wide receivers coach. But again, you take those things with a grain of salt. Jalen Pope thought, again, this is not him telling me, it's me getting it from other places, that they put him out of position, or he wasn't, he was better suited in the slot and not where they were lining him up. Javon Baker, I just don't think knew the offense. I think, and both of those guys, if you watch the tape and the film of these games, a lot of times it was either on the quarterback or they were just in the wrong spot. And my feeling is 99.9% of the times they were in the wrong spot. And either Drake May had to look at them and say, they're not where they're supposed to be, I got to go somewhere else, or he would throw it to where they were supposed to be and nobody home. Some of that is coaching, I would think. The wide receivers coach, the importance of route running, the importance of being where you're supposed to be and not winging it out there, or not, So perhaps you're right. With better coaching, maybe one of those two, if not both of those two, will be better this year. But I think they're going to have to earn it because, they signed Matt Collins and he's not a number one. He might not even be a number two, but he's somebody that you want on the field because he does get to the right spot. He's a veteran receiver. He has smarts and savvy. He can get open against man coverage, not because he's fast or speedy or has all these moves. It's because he's smart. And again, I think Josh McDaniels is going to want somebody, as many receivers that Drake May can trust to be in the right spot on the field. Those rookies in their second year are going to have to earn that.
I think that's one of the things that makes me excited for the draft, whether they're going line, whether they go other positions later down the draft, like running back, because I do think they need running backs as well. Having Josh in the building, who is, let's face it, he knows how to develop players on offense, whether, and especially at quarterback, obviously, with what he's been able to do in his time. But just having him there, I think, is going to be such a huge value add that they didn't have to make wholesale changes around the offense. They have the quarterback, and now it's just adding all the right pieces around him. So I'm excited. I'm personally excited about that, which I think is great. I think this is a good segue, though. Are there any players?
Can I jump
Yeah,
in 1 second?
yeah, of course, of course.
Again, you need talent on offense. And one of the most talented players is a running back. And I kind of wrote about this on Sunday. Ashton Genty, if you're, they say there's only two blue chip players, but I would put Genty in that mix. Mm-hmm. And again, if you are really drafting the best player available, shouldn't Ashton Genty be in that mix, even though he's a running back? He's a playmaker. I mean, he catches the ball out. Again, if you look with the type of backs that Josh McDaniels has always had a third down back. Not that Ashton Genty is a third down back, but he's an every down back who's might be better as a pass catcher than he is as a runner. And that so fits into Josh McDaniels and his offense. So do they take an Ashton Genty because he's the best player available there? I don't know.
You see a draft day surprise?
I would actually love for them to take Ashton Genty. There's another running back that I kind of have my sights set on a little bit later in the draft, but I would not be upset with Ashton Genty at all.
I firmly believe they'll take a running back. It's not if, it's when. And I think it's the same thing with a tight end. And again, if you look where this draft is strong positionally, it's running back, it's tight end. I'm talking offensively. It's not the best year for wide receivers. So they
don't do that well anyway.
Again, but if they if they are going for the
Different
best,
regime.
if they are picking the best player available, you would think maybe that they'll get one of the really good tight ends or one of the really good running backs in the early rounds. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and I think that's an interesting thing too, because I would be very okay with them potentially trading back a little bit if it means that, like, and I'm not saying this will happen, but there's been a lot of chatter with, the Saints because of the whole Derek Carr situation, moving back to 9 and maybe picking up someone like Tyler Warren, who seems like a pretty damn good prospect at tight end. And I love Hunter Henry. I think Austin Hooper was one of the bright spots last year, but those guys aren't getting any younger, and they need to start preparing for the next phase.
Well, that's what smart teams do. So we'll see how smart they are.
Were they smart to trade Joe Milton? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm mixed on that one. I hate to be mixed, but again, and I don't want to go overboard about what I saw him do in a game against Scrubs, but he does have tools. He does have ability. I mean, his arm talent alone. That doesn't mean he was going to be developed into this next great, awesome thing. There's more to being a quarterback than being able to throw it 90 yards. And, one of the issues coming, he was a 5-year player and, spent 5 years in college. And again, with his skill set, you have to say, why was that? Right. But the word coming out was that he just had trouble picking up defenses and reading defenses. And again, you have all this awesome arm talent, but if you don't know what you're seeing in front of you, how good can you really be? Right. So that's not to say that he couldn't have been taught. I mean, I actually saw better footwork from him and better movement in the pocket from what I saw in rookie camp to what I saw when he actually played in a game. So I saw improvement. Who's to say he couldn't have improved some of those other elements that might have been keeping him back? So,
Yeah. Well,
but he he believed he should be competing for the starter's job, and he didn't think that was going to happen. I think he has a higher opinion of himself and his ability than perhaps some of the coaching staff. And I think they were just wanted to be quick to eliminate any potential problem.
makes sense. Well, look, the Patriots have had themselves quite an off season where, they've cleared house from a coaching standpoint. Vrabel, I think what you said was a great point, Karen, brings along all of those connections that he had throughout the league in to help him out, both on the player side, but as well on the coaching staff and certainly the front office as well. So, free agency has been exciting. There's some names, if you will, that have come into the team here to help bolster things as we head in, and that will certainly happen here in the draft in a couple weeks. So, Karen, can't thank you enough for jumping on with us tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Two things to leave you with, or two questions to round things out tonight. First, way too early prediction for next year in terms of sort of the win total. I think the Vegas makers have it at 8.5. And then also, where can people find you? What do you have going on right now? What sort of things do folks need to
Karen,
check
help
out?
help us out.
Karen.
We're going. Some of us are going to Vegas in a couple weeks, and we gotta put some money on some things. So,
Well, I've heard some people say 12 wins, and I'm going serious. Let's be real. Let's not get too excited. It won't be 4, and it won't be less than 4. I think in the 7, 8, 9 range is good. Is probably, again, based on the schedule, based on improvements. And again, I think, it's all guesswork right now, again, based on the schedule, based on the improvements. What I will anticipate seeing is that progress thing that I keep talking about, because it's going to take time. There's all new players on defense. There's a mix of new players on offense. There's a new offensive system that they have to learn because of Josh McDaniel's system. It's going to take a little while for it to kind of click and gel. But what I would bet the farm on is that you'll see a much better team in the second half. And how many wins that produces, I don't know. But again, I think conservatively, I'd say 7, 8, 9 for the high bar.
All right. Well, Big E and J Matt, you'll have to see what line you can get and
Yeah.
report back in a few weeks.
I don't know if that helps you at all, but
All
I'm going to
good.
put money on it no matter what, Karen. So
and you can find me on Mass Live's website, masslive.com. I'm at Kay Guregian at Mass Live. So
Amazing. And you can follow her on Twitter and all of the amazing. I hear Karen's name at least once a day, I feel like, on the different sports radio stations. And Karen had this, or coming from Karen Guregian at Mass Live. So she's on top of everything down in Foxborough. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll have to have you back on during the preseason once again and take a look at,
And
the outlook for the season based on things at that time of the year. So, Karen, have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll see you again soon down the line.
thanks. I appreciate the invite and I enjoyed chatting, as you can see.
Aaron,
Love-
keep an eye out for us. I think we're gonna come out to come out this summer and maybe have some
Training
good
Yeah.
training camp,
Yeah.
have some good costumes potentially lined up.
Excellent.
Who knows? We could go buck wild at training camp.
we're going to bring the energy. We're going to bring it.
All
We'll
right.
bring
On the
a
hill.
Boston Sports sister shirt for you too.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it.
Excellent. We can definitely
What's
make that happen.
I have five new brothers. I love it.
Always here for you. Your brothers are always here for you, Karen. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you down the line.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Karen.
Take care.
Take
Bye,
care,
Karen.
Karen.
Thank you.
Thanks for hopping on.
All right. There she is, Karen Guregian, Sister Karen.
What a
Appreciate
gem.
all the insight. She's the best, absolute best. Her Belichick line it was gold. That was amazing.
Well, we'll be clipping that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
She wasn't too high on Will Campbell. I don't know if anyone caught that too.
I
saw
did.
you
Wow.
Well, you want to know what's
caught
funny?
that. Oh,
You want to know what's
wow.
funny? I'm not high on him either. And you want to know what? Like, she was talking about moving back into the first round. Josh Connerly, the dude from Oregon who held his own against Abdul Carter. Give me that dude. I want that dude. I don't
I
need
like
T-Rex. All right, take
I like it,
T-Rex and go
Eric.
somewhere else.
I like the trade back idea. I also
I do too.
one guy I didn't have an opportunity to ask her about was Jalen Walker out of Georgia, a linebacker, where she expressed multiple times this is a new NFL where you need a linebacker that can play tough but also in coverage. He seems like a standout character guy. He seems like just an absolute stud at linebacker. Not that the Patriots really need another linebacker at the moment, but that was one guy that I was also a bit interested in hearing more about. But there's only so much we can do here on the podcast.
I was super interested in her take on my draft crush, who Sam brought up a little bit earlier, Cam Scatabo. That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy that I think they need to go after in the third round, because
Yeah.
if he's there, like, that dude is a difference maker from the running back position. And I think there are some really good running backs. Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, who would be great to reunite with Drake May. I just think that some of those guys are going to be gone by the time that we are going to be able to get a running back. And Scatabo is a guy that I think we can get. So
Genty is somebody that I would definitely like to have on this team, and that
I
kind
know-
of shook
I know
things up
certain-
for me a little
Well,
bit.
guess
I
what?
know certain
We're all
radio
gonna-
hosts.
We're all
Certain
gonna
radio
find
hosts
out.
are against running backs being drafted almost exclusively in the first and second round.
Let's
Oh,
say-
yeah.
Some,
Talent.
some
throw
of
it
them
the
on the
big board.
afternoon show on
He's catching
98.5.
too.
Yeah, well, you can cover their coverage with the big board, good stuff. But we got a big board of things that we got to get around town on right now. Real quick, any takeaways from what seems like it was a month ago, but in reality, it was only a week ago. Florida takes down Houston. Talk about chokes, as we talked about with Rory. The
Crazy.
Gators,
Oh
the
my
Gators
God.
take it home.
Houston
Anyone?
choked.
I felt bad. I felt bad for that kid. I mean, he grabbed the ball and just landed
Lockdown
weird
D.
and couldn't touch it. Couldn't touch the
Lockdown
ball,
D.
and no one was there to help him. And that was, I mean, it was a chaotic ending to the finals. But it sucked to see it end on something like that. But either way, it was chaotic. It was a competitive game.
Fantastic.
Florida earned it.
Yeah.
They
did.
had to
They
come
earned
back
it.
multiple times against
Yeah.
multiple teams. Like, what a team, and just,
It was a fight. The whole game was a fight.
Great to see that coach win. He came in 3-4 years ago, turned around that program from where they used to be golden. So that was really cool
Yeah.
to see, like, the youngest coach out of all the four of them in the Final Four end up taking it home. So that was really cool too.
Yeah. Great performance from Florida. Arguably, well, they were the best team in college this year. Clayton really wasn't on his A game either, and the whole team
No,
stepped up
he
across the
wasn't.
board. So a fantastic Final Four. Good shit for Al Horford. Let's make it a Celtics championship as well, and let's talk about the Celtics, Biggie.
Because we're talking about Al Horford, I think the biggest thing that came out for me on the championship game was
Yeah.
Al Horford talking about coming back next year and also talking about potentially playing with someone like Walter Clayton. So, like, to me, that was the big news of the night of that championship game is Al Horford is not done after this year. He wants to come back and he wants to keep riding with this squad. So that to me was the big news.
Eric,
And that
also,
tells you that scouts are looking at Will Clayton.
Yep.
and it was cool to see him at just like supporting his alma mater, and the guy's just becoming a legend in Boston, and we love Al Horford.
Oh yeah, I think that's also like the coaching staff knew that was an important night for him to be down there, and like they like Al Horford can pretty much do whatever Al Horford needs. He is the consummate professional on the team. Speaking about being a professional on the team, let's talk a little bit about what happened over the last week with the Celtics. They finished out the season, so we are officially ready for the playoffs.
Let's go.
Last week,
420.
when we recorded, there was a fabulous game against the New York Knicks that went to overtime, and the Knicks just can't seem to beat the Celtics or the Cavs this year. If they want to make some noise, they're going to have to do that in the playoffs.
Better knock on wood there, buddy. I don't want to see them in a series.
I actually would love to see the Knicks in a series because I think it's going to be good for basketball, and I think it's good for the NBA to have the Knicks and Celtics be two of the top teams in the East. So I think I'm here for it. I think the Knicks are a fun team. They're very well coached by Tom Thibodeau. And I just think that it would be good for the league. Besides that, you had the standard loss against the Magic where they sat all five starters. It was kind of the expected loss. I think they did that on purpose, to be honest.
They did.
I don't think they wanted to
100%.
tie the record of the Warriors and have all that. So they finished one win shy from tying the all-time single season win record.
Also, Eric, not to interrupt, but they could be
Go ahead.
facing Orlando in the playoffs, so
playing game.
They may not want to give away any new packages or schemes that they're working on, and that could be another reason why they all sat.
Joe Mazzulla playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And then finished on out two games at home against the Hornets. They were, really never close. Even though the last game looked a little bit close score-wise, it wasn't. So here we are, where we finished at 61 wins and 21 losses. Back-to-back 60-win teams. I saw Sam Cassell talking to the team after they had gotten their 60th win and talked about the fact that he played in the league for 15 plus years. He only won 60 games twice, and this team just did it back-to-back. So it's great that they did that, but now everyone's record is 0-0 again, and they will be facing off against the winner of the Atlanta Hawks or the Orlando Magic. Candidly, I think the Magic probably have a little bit of a better shot to win that game than the Hawks, just based on the talent that's on that roster. Very much looking forward to the first round matchup that's coming around. I believe that's starting on Sunday.
Sunday.
So
Sunday.
Everybody celebrate your Easter. And
there's another holiday Sunday too.
There's also a Passover too, so you'll be able to celebrate all of your holidays and be with your family and watch the Celtics hopefully dominate this playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, another.
There you go. You fucking caught it. Nice job. Attaboy. All right. Let's quickly. I don't know if anybody caught any Celtic City episodes. We haven't touched on that, but they're
Phenomenal.
great. The latest ones were on the 80s teams. I think, it kind of gets to a point now where you start to know the things that happen with the Celtics in these episodes. So any quick takeaways on either of the past two Celtic cities?
I didn't realize how bad some of the injuries were for Michaela and Bird that they played through, and just what warriors they were. Like, they should have never did what they did in 87. They could have maybe extended their careers a little bit longer, but they were so good that they drove to the finals, and they couldn't do it. Mikhail should have never played on that leg.
No.
For me, it was Bill Walton. For me, it was Bill Walton, how revered he was. Like, the team loved him. Everyone around the NBA, like, how could you not love him and the aura and his personality? And he was
his love for the dead.
One of a kind.
Deadhead.
Yeah, a lot of dead in episode 5. That's where I'm at right now. Is episode 5. I finished that. One thing that really caught my attention is Porzingis is like the modern day Bill Walton in a sense, like just because how Walton got traded here with all the injury history, but he was really that guy who kind of took them over the top and helped them win a championship in '86. And then you got Porzingis here now, who has a lot of lower leg injuries, and they might not rely on him as heavily as they did Bill Walton, but he's an integral part of the Celtics championship team, and it just like as soon as I saw that, I was like Porzingis, like that's like the modern day Porzingis. I don't know why.
No, they kind of have the same sort of like outgoing, personality and in touch with the fans and whatnot. So, no, great documentary. We'll continue to watch that through the end. A team where talking about ending things, we're gonna end the Celtics, but we gotta crash. We gotta shift down and talk about this baseball team because who the fuck knows what's going on right now. Let's go series by series. The Blue Jays series back at Fenway where they salvage a game at the end, and same thing with the White Sox in Chicago. Kraz, take it away.
They played in too cold weather.
Shut up.
Yeah,
hate
no,
that
I mean,
excuse. I hate it.
I'm gonna
I
sound
hate
like
it.
a broken record, but I mean, the 5-game winning streak comes to an end, obviously against Toronto. They kind of got beat up by George Springer of like all people. He just for some reason always just seems to kill us, and I can't understand why we keep pitching to him. But we did end up salvaging one game. We walked it off. It was ugly. It was an ugly win, but a win was a win nonetheless. The real takeaway from that series was it was cold. It was ugly. I'm gonna sound like a broken record. This team needs to gel. It's a complete brand new 1 through 9, pretty much. The 1 through 6 is pretty much all brand new. They haven't played together. The infield hasn't played together. Bregman's leading the team in errors, so I mean, who would have thought there?
Yeah.
But
After all the shit we gave Raffy.
It's gonna take time, and I mean, I would rather have it be right now than have issues in the middle of the season and it not be because the team's not quite gelled yet or the bats haven't quite warmed up, and it's more of a locker room issue or a personnel issue. So I'm kind of glad that this is happening now when this season's starting. Yes, every single game does count. I understand that, but no one's gonna go 162 and 0.
The good thing, Sam, is I'm looking at the standings right now, and like we're the ninth best record. We're the ninth best record in the league, the American League, and Detroit is 9-6, and we're only 2 games behind them. So it's like it's a real like the top 10 teams right now in the American League are really trying to feel themselves out. So that I think it's everyone. I don't think it's just the Red Sox.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, the biggest thing and what it's going to come down to is pitching, and we have a lot of depth coming back. And the one game that I do want to touch on, I mean, obviously there were really 2 ugly games against Chicago, but there was that one.
Crochet.
Yeah, I call him Big Hoss. He's a boss. He's a boss. He's a hog. He's a hoss. I mean,
He's boss hog.
I wasn't gonna
reminds me of Pawn Stars.
I wasn't gonna text you guys at all, but I was like, this guy's fucking got a no-hitter going in the 8th inning. This is insane. But super ironic that he gave up the hit to Chase Medroth, one of the guys that we actually traded him for. It is what it is. He said he could have gone another 5 innings. Yeah, it was a weak little hit right out of Trevor Story's reach, but what are you gonna do? We got the W there. Trevor Story got a home run in that next inning to kind of give us a little bit more breathing room and kind of nail things down. But the biggest thing that I wanted to touch on is that we have some guys coming back. And again, go ahead.
Sammy, I just wanted to chime in and say, how concerned are you with the catching situation right now, especially after dealing Kyle Teal? Obviously, we got the big hoss, like great return. But now, taking a look forward, like Connor Wong goes down. It doesn't seem like they have much depth at that position.
No.
I don't know who this guy is that keeps getting
Navarez?
playing. No, the other one,
Sogard.
I don't know. I don't know his last name, but he's just been god awful. Can't hit the ball. Can barely field. Like it's a little concerning to me at that position, especially when you had like the number 1 prospect at that. There.
Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing in the trade I think
that's who they wanted.
Chicago. Yeah, I think Chicago was like, you're gonna give us either Roman Anthony or you're gonna give us Kyle Teal, and unfortunately, Roman Anthony's that guy. And I've talked about it on previous episodes where catchers, especially hitting catchers like that, are really, really hard to come by. So
since Varitek, we really haven't had a stable catcher that can hit. They've kind of all been really streaky hitters. So that's what I kind of, expect out of it. It's going to be our 9 guy and then kind of get the ball rolling again with the Ran. I don't, like you said, they dealt away Teal. So that sucks. That was a big hurt. And there's really not anyone in the pipeline.
But Sam, wouldn't you say like across the league in general, catcher is kind of a weak position for the most part? It's no, I'm just agreeing with you. I think it's like there hasn't been a lot of talent at the catching position for a while. Like I feel like the last great catcher that was out there was Joe Mauer, and then he eventually had to move to first, which is what we always see from catchers because being behind the plate for a long period of time is not healthy for your legs.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that the kind of Juan injury actually isn't as bad as everyone's alluding it to be. He's actually supposed to be back a lot sooner than they thought, so that'll be really good. I believe he's like the last piece from the Mookie Betts trade. So that's interesting to see.
Can we talk about one last thing?
Yeah.
You guys brought it up too, is the weather, and like it's to me it's like such a cop out because like when it comes time to September and October, like those night games, it's not going to be nice out.
So,
and if you want to go somewhere, like you got to be able to play in those cold when all those winter, fall jackets come on.
No.
That's just my thing.
So here's the thing. So there's
cop out right now.
In October, you have the energy of, competing 162 games. You're into the postseason. You got all this juice going. You want to play in that cold weather. In the beginning of the year, when those first games are going, you take a wooden bat and you hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball and tell me how that feels. It's not a cop out. It's not. But at the same time, it sucks to play in that weather. And a lot of these guys aren't from around here and they're not used to it. So, I mean, take it for what it is. I mean, it's not a cop out, but at the same time, you have to understand that 90% of this team's not from, I would say 98% of the team's not from the Northeast. So they have no idea what it's like playing baseball up here.
It's a mental thing. Like you gotta you gotta go into the game. And who was it? I forget who we had on a few weeks ago that talked about the Miami Dolphins. And whenever they come north, like they just have no ability. And Mike McDaniel on the sideline in that game versus whoever they were playing, like you knew they were gonna lose the fucking game before it even started because the guy looked like Frosty the Snowman out there. Like just ridiculous. Well, and Kraz, you said it, the pitching help and things that are on the way for the Sox, they're gonna need it. They're down 14-1 right now.
Oh Jesus. I didn't even look.
So, not good here as we record on Monday night. So
and where are they? They're in Florida?
In Tampa, at the minor league stadium.
At the bullshit stadium.
It's cold down there.
No weather excuses today for the Sox. They're gonna
bats are cold.
They're gonna have to turn it around.
That's wild.
There's a lot of scuttlebutt going on the socials with the Red Sox people right now about the state of the team. We'll give it another week, but we might.
Tanner Houck, tenor and runs. Oh my God!
I mean, honestly, this is my opinion. I said this to Sam last night. I really can't start taking like any record seriously until we're mid-May because there's just
you had tax day a few weeks ago. We had to get to tax day.
Goes that game.
Well, no. We had to get to tax day for no. That was to start the season. If you recall, what I said
he wanted a viable 1 through 9 on the field to be able to cheer for come tax day. I think is what he wanted.
Well, no. What I was saying is they shouldn't start games before tax day because the weather fucking sucks. That's exactly what I was saying. Well, now what I'm saying is I can't really pay attention to the records for probably, 40, 45, 50 games in the season because everyone right now is shitting the bed. And I think this is also something that I've noticed too for the last couple of years. Spring training really, like guys aren't playing. So guys like Rafi Devers, who I know got off to a terrible start. Oh, look, they finally get some at-bats. Things start to work around. Like it's partially the weather. It's partially the way these guys play in spring training. Things have changed. So, I don't think it's that wild to say, hey, the first month and a half of the season, I'm not calling it a wash by any means, but like I can't really take a record seriously right now until we get to that point.
All right. Well, the season starts tomorrow. Well, the season starts tomorrow then, but a season ends tomorrow as well for another team. Gabe, take it away on the Bruins.
Oh, yeah, this
will get us. This will be quick, but the Bruins actually, since we've last talked, they're 2-1-0.
Boo!
Best
Seriously.
stretch
I
of
know,
the
it-
season.
They pulled the Patriots.
Pulling the
Unbelievable.
page, yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll start with the game. They beat the New Jersey Devils. They beat the wheels off of them 7-2 unexpectedly. There were a lot of milestones in that game. I believe Morgan Geekie scores his 30th goal of the season, which he's a great story. I hope they re-sign him. Pasternak marks his 100th point and continues to build on that as we're speaking now. And Fraser Minton, a piece they got in the Brandon Carlo trade, had his first NHL career goal, as well as Michael Callahan. And then Fabian Lysell had his first NHL goal yesterday against the Pittsburgh Penguins in a win. So, it's like, yeah, as fans, we don't really want to see this team winning too much right now because we want them to have the best possible pick in the draft. But at the same time, it's very Karen Guregian. Like, we want this team to show a little spark at the end going into the offseason, see some young guys step up a little bit and maybe get some confidence going into the next season. From what I'm seeing, it's looking pretty decent. That guy that they signed out of UMass, Dons Lushmelis, he has 4 points in 3 games. He had a game winner the other night.
Let's go,
And
UMass.
kid's killing it already. So I'm feeling a little bit kind of more confident in the, you could say, the farm system. I mean, the worst pick that the Bruins can get now is number 6. But I really am hoping that they get the 4th pick in the draft. And there's a big free agent market coming up as well, where the Bruins can add some big names such as like Mitch Marner, Brock Besser. These guys are top of the line hockey players that could really help this club next year. And the Bruins have plenty of cap space to sign a guy of that caliber. So I'm excited. I mean, it's sad that the season went this way. It's sad that we're not going to be in the playoffs. It's the first time in history that the Boston Bruins, New York Rangers, and Pittsburgh Penguins have all missed the playoffs. So it's just kind of a strange year. I'm super hopeful in a turnaround next year. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I
I
can't
think
say that I'm
it's-
super sad about the Rangers missing. I'll tell you what.
I'm
Yeah.
sad that I think it's terrible though that like the only original 6 team that's good right now is Toronto. Like that's not good. For the
Oh
league.
no,
Yucky.
And we know what Toronto does. They puke on
Hanko.
themselves every year.
Hanko.
So get ready, guys.
You know what Big E does every episode, though? What does he do? What does he do?
He talks about the things that we hate, the things that we loathe, and then there's also the things that we love that are stupendous, fabulous, things that we love. So the things that are bad, those are the things that make us go, yeah, oh. And the things that are stupendous, those are the things that make us go, oh yeah. Who wants
Oh,
to kick
we
it off
lost
with
him.
some? Oh, yeah,
Always
you didn't
losing
lose
him.
me.
Sorry.
Oh,
Gabe,
you
was
didn't
there
lose me. I'm still here.
Do you want to put the final nail in the coffin and a yeah-oh to kick us off with the Bruins and end the season? Any parting words on the season there before we do our real oh yeah yeah oh?
Parting words. I was offered tickets to go to the Chicago Blackhawks game. When was that? Thursday. And I turned them down. I just could not, even as like a diehard Bruins fan, I just couldn't get there and watch that team perform. I think Jacob Lauko said it best. They feel like a bunch of beer leaguers playing out there with David Pastrnak and some of the other guys,
Ugh.
and it kind of looks like it. So like, I don't know if that's the type of hockey I'm really going to see right now. I'm a little under the weather too, so that also played a factor. But rest in peace to the 2024-25 season for the Bruins. This team, like I said, they have plenty of cap space to turn this around next year. It looks like they're kind of rebuilding everything from the bottom up. So I'm hopeful for the coming year.
I'm glad
Onward and
they
upward.
made a decision and they chose a direction because I think that they were kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out for a long part of this season, and it does give me hope for the next year. So I'm with you, Gabe.
Love it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Big E kicked us off, and guess what, boys? I got yeah.
Yeah, hit us with it.
Oh yeah.
I've been traversing this entire glorious country here of the US of A over the past few weeks, starting
flying like a bird.
Cousin Sam out in Columbus, Ohio. We had a little Ripe concert action a few weeks ago, so that was great to see Cousin Sam. He says what's up to the pod crew.
Hey.
What's
So-
up, Sam?
And then we made our way up to Chicago, where we had a little work trip going on, but we also found our way to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field, and big bucket list item checked off the list. Wrigley.
How was the weather? How was the weather there?
It was brick
How
cold,
is the
dude.
Windy City?
I feel like I didn't get the full Wrigley experience because it was a
Ivy.
very cold day.
Oh, it was cold? Weird.
It was cold, but guess what? Guess who didn't bitch and complain? Guess who put on a couple layers on the top and the bottom, put some gloves on, a little hat, and we sat and watched a baseball game and drank some beers and enjoyed and left in the fifth inning.
If it
Because
wasn't Wrigley or it's not Fenway, I'm not going.
But I will say this: if you have the chance and you're a baseball person, getting up to Wrigley is a fantastic time. Cheap tickets, so it was well worth it. It reminds me of Fenway when 20, 30 years ago, before they sort of built up Fenway. Lots of bars that I would compare to the baseball tavern and Lansdowne and those sorts of things. So and even more bars, to be completely honest. Just a great experience. Highly recommend. So it was a good time up there, and then we made our way back to Boston. And I've been at the TD Garden for the last 2 games of the Celtics season. And let's just say, when you're with some friends or family for that matter, and they say we're going to the Encore at 11 o'clock at night after you've been at the greatest bar in Hub Hall for the pregame and the postgame, and then you end up at the Encore and you don't get home till 3 in the morning, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's not in the cards anymore, but I did it, and it was a great time. So that's the
We
won some money, so hopefully some good vibes that will transfer over to the real Vegas casino folks in a few weeks. Otherwise, let's hit on yes, receive them, please, and then let's hit on our other Ohs and yeahs of the week. We'll rip through these real quick. Denver Nuggets coach Mike Malone.
Crazy.
See ya.
Weird.
Wild. Unbelievable.
Wild.
Hi,
In there,
What?
Jokic
Rhode
kicked him
Island
out.
native.
Yeah. Oh, see, but I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
well.
teams are just doing whatever they want at this point. It really makes no sense. But another thing that makes no sense is John Morant continuing to just throw around weaponry.
Well, did you hear his explanation as to what it was?
Please
Tell
enlighten
us,
us.
Sam.
He's
Enlighten
taking
us.
he's taking all the noise, he's throwing it away, and then he's not listening.
All right, I can do that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Sounds like
yeah.
a grenade to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Oh,
That sounds like
Can't
a
run like
Morant.
this.
That sounds like a 7-year-old just trying to explain away whatever they did. So they're like, "No, this is actually what I did." No, you threw
I
a
thought he
grenade, dude.
chat GPT'd. How do I talk my way out of this again?
That guy's the biggest tool. I must say, he's such a
Tool
tool
back
bag.
He's
of the day.
talented though. You can't deny that.
Oh,
And
extremely
his dad
talented.
looks like Usher too.
Interesting
Extremely
family,
talented.
the Morant family. Yeah, extremely talented. They got a big playoff series coming up in the West. So
Against the
we'll see.
Lakers. No, not
No.
not the Lakers.
A
They're-
shootout,
they're-
some may say.
They're facing Golden State
in the play-in.
in the
Yeah,
play-in
yeah.
in the first game.
So, yeah, big playing games going on throughout the course of this week. Potentially Walter Clayton to the Celtics, as we alluded to with Horford. And the last, a sad one. There was a collapse of a nightclub, I believe, in the Dominican, where Pedro Martinez had some family members and friends present there, and still unaccounted for, Cross. Is that the case, or anything confirmed down there?
Octavio Dotel.
I haven't heard-
There were a
I-
couple players.
I think
Nelson
they've
Cruz's
cleared it all
sister.
out, so I'm sure. I mean, the numbers surpassed, I think, 250 people dead. I mean, it was a big tragedy. One of Dominican's eldest singers who people love down there. He passed away, and some really prominent MLB players were there. Not ex-MLB players, I should say. What a terrible scenario. I've heard that it was kind of neglect on the owner's part. They didn't necessarily do a fix correctly, and it led to this terrible incident. So I mean, thoughts and prayers obviously to everyone who was affected by that. And when you hear Pedro Martinez, your heart skips a beat. You're like, oh my God, did that kill Pedro Martinez? But
Yeah.
I mean, I still that's terrible that all those people have to go through that.
Yeah, not great, and all of our thoughts go out to those affected by that situation. Lots of crazy stuff sometimes that comes out of the DR. Obviously, the Big Poppy story from a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Wild.
yeah, feel for everyone down there. And boys, it's been a good episode. Look at us moving and grooving with Karen, all things Patriots and Masters. It's been an insane sports week and weekend. And now we gear up and get ready for playoff mode, baby.
Playoffs?
I'm sad we don't have the Bruins Celtics alternation on each night of the
I
week like we've
know.
had for so long, but that means we're full green teamers here, full steam ahead on the green. And let's get to the Pike where
Let's defend that title, baby.
we attack the title as Coach Mizzou.
No,
So
it's
let's
no
go
defense.
attack it.
It's a new year.
We're
We're going
attacking
for a
it.
new championship.
So our opponent will be determined tomorrow. The winner of the playing game, Orlando and Atlanta, will be who we face off against
I want
on
Atlanta.
Sunday. Yeah, we'll take. You know, you want to know what they should take care of business in 5, 6
Obviously,
games at most. So
I want Atlanta, but I think Orlando is what we're going to see, and I'm fine with
Yes.
it too.
Agreed.
So the Sox, as we talked about, not off to a great start down at the minor league stadium. Really need to get things going in their favor against Tampa the rest of this week. Then they come back home to hopefully avenge some of those losses to the White Sox back at Fenway. And then, as Gabe mentioned off the top, we got the season finale for the Bruins tomorrow night versus the Devils, and that will do it for them as we head into an off season. Does sound like that per Frank Saravillo, I think that's his name. Apologies if I got that wrong. That Sweeney and Neely look to be sticking around and taking us into this offseason. So we'll see what the fuck happens.
Buddy.
Buckle up. Buckle
Lottie,
up.
I just need a redemption here. I have one more. Oh yeah, that
Ooh, yeah.
occurred
Redeem us.
while we were talking. Paige Becker's number one overall pick
Let's go.
got drafted by the Dallas Wings tonight.
Attaboy.
Well
That's
deserved.
Paige Beckers, everybody.
At a girl.
No disrespect.
Congrats to Paige. Well deserved. Great player. Really look forward to seeing what
Great
she does
person
in the
too, from
WNBA.
everything that I've heard. Not just the player, but like who she is off the court too. So
Hey,
good for
we
her.
got WNBA season should be coming around soon. The Suns
yeah.
number one will be coming back.
Ooh, I don't know if
so-
the Suns are number one though. Now
They're gonna
anymore.
suck
It
this
ain't gonna be
year.
good. That's a completely new team. We're gonna have to look at the program and the
Still got
roster.
Marina Mabry though.
All right,
That's right.
So we'll see what happens.
She ruined your birthday parlay.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
that
she
the
did.
Dewana Bonner?
the parlay ruiner.
Yeah, Bonner boned me. Yeah.
Bonner the
Bonner
Boner.
boned
Okay.
me.
Bonner the
Bonner
Boner.
boned
Well,
me.
we're gonna put a bone in this episode and call it a day. And we appreciate everyone tuning in. Big thank you to Karen for jumping on. Great preview of the Patriots upcoming season and recap on the off season as well. So big thanks to Karen, fellas. Great to see you as always. Happy Passover, and we'll see everybody next time. Happy Easter as well on the Boston.
Happy
Sports Buddies
holidays.
podcast. Yes.
Happy
celebrate.
holidays.
Yeah, man.
Joy. Yeah, well, our eyes might be a little more closed on the next episode. That's okay. All right.
I might
Well,
talk a little slower.
yes, just speed us up. Near, far, wherever you are. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Good night.
Adios.